of the Zoom today via our newsletter, but your blog is judithbenhamou-huet.com. So I invite all of you, the ones who don't know Judith's blog yet, to discover it and follow. You wrote Art Business 1 and Art Business 2, two books dedicated to the art market, and also a book on global collectors already in 2008. You had this great title of Global Collectors, and one in 2012 that I like the title and I have to read it soon, is The Artists Have Always Loved Money. And so that's going to be maybe our next discovery. You're a curator also. You have been curated the Ai Weiwei exhibition in Marseille, and you are preparing an exhibition for the Guggenheim Bilbao about Seurat and Seurat. Am I right? I think I'm forgetting maybe the Mapplethorpe and Rodin exhibition. No? Unmute.
No. Warhol and television.
Oh, okay. So the idea today was to ask you a few questions in English, and thank you so much for being able to answer to that. So the first topic will be, can virtual art fairs actually save the market? That's the big question. And
it's a bit provocative, right?
Yeah, we would love you to say yes as an answer.
No, it's not like that. I think it's a beginning. The real miracle was that they were able to settle a virtual fair instead of Art Basel Hong Kong, because they prepared some virtual fair before Art Basel Hong Kong, so they were able to do something. But all this virtual offering now in the art and in the art market is most of the time so weak and so frustrating. That's the first thing. You know, I'm looking for some very interesting site for Les Echos, site of museum, to speak about some interesting exhibition, etc. And people, the offer is so weak and it's so boring. I can't believe it.
Yes.
And so people are not ready yet. Probably not ready to have a correct offer, and not ready to buy art on the internet. So probably people in China, for example, are more used to it. I spoke with the director of Gagosian in Hong Kong, and he said that he has a lot of buyers who are able to buy just seeing an image of a work on the internet if they know the artist. So probably, for example, in Europe, people are more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
In Asia, it could be different. But anyway, first, the offer is quite weak. If you have been on the site of the Dallas Art Fair, it was really so boring.
Yeah.
And if you have been to the Dubai Art Fair, it was incredibly bad. There's a kid going around here.
Uh-huh. Yes, actually I went to the Dallas Art Fair online, and it was quite boring. I agree, but some few stands said that they were selling, but not as much. And
anyway, you know, the difference between the fairs and the auction. In the auction, at least you can have some official. So for Hong Kong, they said they sold. Probably they. For example, Zwirner said they sold Marlène Dumas and Luc Tuymans. I think it's true, but it's not, the market is not done only on that. And you can notice that Hauser and Wirth gave some example of what they sold, and it was for lower value. The thing about internet most of the time is also that most of the purchase are not expensive.
Yeah, that's true. And yes, and also from what I understand, that they sold to their already existing clients. the one which with they have a very built-in trusted relationship.
I just read an article about the transaction online with Drouot online. Drouot is the auction house in Paris, and the average price were 800 euros. So you can see. In fact, if you are a wealthy person and you are in your countryside house and you have not much to do, after all, to buy something for 800 euros, it's not much risk. And they have some kind of captive customers for now on. So people can consume a bit of this kind of art or books or jewels, things like that. But it's very low value, I think.
Yes. And what do you think about the galleries? And they have launched their own selling platforms. Going back to Zwirner, it's a platform that they started in New York and after in London. They have made a selection of 10 different galleries in each city, and each gallery presents one artist, and it's a gesture of supporting young galleries. But would it be also a way to sort of launch their sort of own online fairs, or
no, it's not the same. Zwirner is a very untypical case because they began very early on to think about it. I interviewed the person in charge of online sales, and it's very interesting because they have galleries in Hong Kong, in New York, in Paris, and now there's a director of a gallery also online, like it would be another city. So they have a very special strategy for that. They try to find the best way to film the artist, to show the drawing, to show the studio. So they have a very special approach to the online. And I think it's very clever to attract it's probably very nice to welcome some younger gallery, but it's also, and they are not competitors, obviously, but it's also a way to attract a younger public on their site. So it's generous and clever because it's not like in a normal gallery. You know, you have plenty of room in your gallery online. So it's very clever to do so.
Yeah, that's true. And what about the experience of Hauser and Wirth that they have launched for the benefit of the World Wealth Organization? Do they really have like such big means and financial surface to do that, or because do you think they are furloughing some of their staff, or and it's important to be sort of committed to a charity?
You know, I think Hauser and Wirth with Zwirner and with Gagosian are the three leading galleries, and they have a very interesting offer. But they were a bit late on this side compared to Zwirner, for example. And so they needed to react. And I think they are, in general, they are very committed to some programs which have nothing to see with business. For example, in the countryside in England, they have a lot of educational programs which have nothing to see with making money officially. So I think I can't figure out how they are financing all that because it's huge. Probably there are also some real estate strategy, and they are obviously extremely wealthy. But
yes,
is the sky the limit? I wonder, you know.
Yeah, it's maybe because they have we're still waiting, I think, for their 3D online platform with their Menorca residency that seems like a big castle near the sea. And
no, but this is another story because it's a real site. And what we see about, I spoke also about Tadeusz Ropak. We just launched an online viewing room. And what he said is that, and also Kamel Menour said that, for the viewing room to be good, it needs to be in a virtual space, not in a real space. So I was really surprised that they were associating the Spanish project with the online thing. It's completely different.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And then yes, and then we sort of understood also that they were going to do some art residencies, but then would it be virtual art residencies or real?
If it's virtual, it costs less, obviously. No, but I don't know. How will all this gallery be able to finance all this? I mean, they want to do so much and in so many places in the world. Where all this money can come from, because they need to sell a lot and for very high prices. For example, if you think about Mark Bradford, who is quite a young artist, he's around 50, and that some of the big paintings were sold for like $15 million. In a time like we have now, are people ready to pay for an artist who is around 50 years old, $15 million? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Probably the value of the money will change, you know, and that's a big, that will be one of the big
issue
for the future. It's not an issue because probably the value of money until now was a bit, it was for some people in the art market, the value of money was different from the average. And it can change.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. And also, yes, artists like Oscar Murillo are very young, and it's the prices are very high. But
Oscar Murillo is 32. I'm just writing about Oscar Murillo, and I just interviewed him because he is in Bogota, near Bogota, in his village, where he's giving some food to the people around. The guy is very cool. And I think this is a special case because he's not a victim of the market. He doesn't care about anything. He's at Zwirner and he doesn't care about anything. This is a miracle. I think a painting from Oscar Murillo at Zwirner could be about 400,000, probably. So it's very expensive, but 15 million is much more expensive.
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's imagine what you represent even for an old master work, for example. So probably the gap between the art market in general and the contemporary, very trendy art market will be less big in the future.
And do you believe also that the well, you know, I mean, it's that the market is going to slow down a little bit, of course.
More than a little bit.
Yeah, more than a little bit. Yeah. So, in your opinion, collectors, like smart collectors, are already starting to negotiate their.
That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yes, that's a new concept called the Corona price.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm going to write about that, the Corona price. Yeah. So since the beginning, since in fact Maastricht Art Fair, I remember Kamel telling me people are bargaining like crazy. So everyone is bargaining everywhere. And the fantasy of today is about how to make good bargain. Everyone wants to have opportunities of buying something inexpensive because some other people are starving. This is the fantasy now in the art market. you know? If
Uh-huh.
you still have a lot of money, you think, oh, I keep my money, and when everyone will be starving, I will buy the best for nothing. But the mistake is, first, the best will never be for nothing, even if we can see some exception. But and also, people really need to starve to give the best. So for now, what we can see is that on the market, the best of the work of the best artists are not proposed.
Yes, exactly. It's like it's like in housing. I mean, when the market goes down, people don't want to sell their best pieces. Yeah. Mm. So it's going to block the market, actually, this reaction, in a way.
We'll see. It's very difficult to guess, but I think there will be some strange behavior, like some, people will really already have the fantasy of the good bargain. So they will be able to buy stupid things. You spoke to me about the article I wrote about the art market during the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
So in France, during the occupation, for example, a lot of people who didn't know anything about art, but who needed to put their money somewhere, decided to buy kind of classical art. So they bought, for example, some fake old masters, but the record price at this period in Paris was for a Cézanne. Mm-hmm. Someone bought a Cézanne for 5 million francs, but in fact, this Cézanne was fake.
Yes.
So if some people are rushing now to the art market and buying anything because Cézanne sounds good again, or I don't know, Matisse or Rothko or David Hockney, there could be some bad art sold for high price or things like that, because they could be newcomers in the art market too.
Yeah. Yes, I see. And yeah, it was very interesting, your article of art war during the German occupation, and it's because also there was the devaluation of the franc also that made the market very, very active.
But also because.
And also because of the Jews and all the people.
Exactly, above all, it was because of that. Because the Germans were taking the collection from the Jews, and also because the Jews were traveling, trying to escape the Nazis, and they were selling their art too. So there was, I think, Drouot auction house in Paris again was never as busy as during this period around 1942.
Mm-hmm. And don't you think that the crisis also, that some collectors will want to sell their art because they would need the money, or not?
Here? This time, you mean?
Yeah, this
of
time.
course.
Yes, yeah.
Of course, but I think there's still a lot of cash and a lot of super, super wealthy people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yes. Now maybe you could tell us a bit about how the museums are responding to this crisis. What are the reaction of the museum directors from Beijing to Paris and London, the one that you have interviewed recently, from the Uhlens contemporary art? Yes, in Beijing. So as it's Asia, and Asia is a bit reopening, and we have no idea when we're going to reopen. The
first reaction, which really shocked me, was in America. And the first very surprising reaction came from the Met, the Metropolitan Museum. They decided to fire immediately, I don't remember how many persons, and they announced that they will pay all their employees like until April, and after a while they said March 1st, and after they said April or May. And the thing is that the employees are the first victim in the American system of the museum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah.
So after that, people are trying to imagine when they can reopen, and when they will reopen, they need to imagine a new system. for the exhibition. First, they will need more people to drive the visitors in the galleries. And second, they will need less visitors, which means it will be more expensive, but they will make less money. So how can they manage? Yeah. For example, when you get in an exhibition, there's a big panel explaining when the artist was born, what was the political context, I don't know, and you can't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. Because if the crowd comes in front of the big panel, it means infection. It means
transmission of the virus.
Exactly. Yeah. So you need to reimagine everything. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's true. If you have like one not a policeman, a guardian, in each room, and for 5 or 10 people, that's a big salary also.
Yeah, but they just fired people, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of the virtual views of biennales and museums online, and all of this content online that we receive? Do you have the feeling that people
any biennale content?
The last biennale now is on the last biennale now is on a virtual view. You can if you go to the
in Venice,
in Venice, yes.
I didn't see that. Okay, this is from the past, but no actual thing.
No actual. No. The only thing I saw, which was very interesting, is that the Hastings Gallery has they have like a robot. With an iPad, and the robot rolls in the rooms, and you can communicate, but that means that you have to book online for your own robot. So someone has to I don't know, plug the robot.
And my feeling is that you don't have the same eyes as the robot.
Probably not. Probably not.
The thing is that first it means that some kind of art will be more popular, and it was already the case, more popular than other, just because it goes better on the screen,
Yeah.
For example, if you love Van Gogh, or if you love who else?
Matisse.
Even Paul Klee.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to understand how interesting it is in terms of depth of the painting, in terms of scale. Mm-hmm. All the aura of the painting doesn't go through the screen. That's very important to think about. But you could imagine a biennale which really fit to the screen, which is quite pathetic.
Yes, that's true. But including some of the curators around the world were already asked to curate some Instagrammable exhibitions. Now it's going to be, how does it look on screen or on virtual reality?
Yeah, but what I really worry about is the fact that we are all in our countries with our problem, just seeing our neighbors maximum. And that's why I'm trying to interview artists who are far, because we need to be interested in what's going on far still. I interview first Anish and after Subodh in India, and India is another reality. After tomorrow I will publish about, or the day after, about Edi Rama, who is an artist and also the Prime Minister of Albania. Mm-hmm. And he has really a special point of view because he's the Prime Minister of his country too, but Albania, most of the people don't know anything, me first, about Albania. And after Liu Fan, who is in Japan now, And I think it's important to fight for that. We still need to be very interested by the alliance. This idea of people who are far, they are the same as us. Because I think one of the, and also, you know, Oscar Murillo, who is in near Bogota, because that's the main danger, I think. Nationalism.
Yes, that because we were not able to travel anymore, we reduce our horizons. So what was the content of your discussion with Subodh Gupta?
I use the same principle each time. First, I ask the artist about what he's doing now, and second, what for him is the world afterwards.
Yeah, it's very interesting to talk about the artist and their anxiety or not, or maybe it's a time for them to think it over and to reinvent their world and their work, or at least have time to work. But
you know, Subodh, when I said, "What are you doing now?" he said, "I can't be in my studio, so I'm writing my cookbook." And so first I lost a bit because it was so weird, my cookbook. And in fact, he thinks that food is spirituality, and that's what he wants to share. And you know, we see all his, how do you say, casseroles that he uses all the time.
Yeah, his tins, yeah.
In his installation, and in fact everything is about cosmogony and spirituality, and that's so interesting. He spoke about an ethnologue, French ethnologue, Malamud, who is specialist about Hinduism and food, and his cookbook is not a normal cookbook, of course. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, and in the case of Subodh, it can be related to his work, actually. The food.
100%.
100%, yes.
And before that, I spoke to Anish, and he's just painting red paintings.
Because of what? Because of anxiety?
No, because he's completely obsessed by that. And red is femininity for him also. You know, he worked a lot about that. Yes. And I think the first time he really expressed dramatically this obsession when in 2011, when he did this Leviathan thing at what's the name? At the Grand Palais. So yes, it was like a big mother with the kids inside.
Yeah.
Of course, it's very sexual. I think it's amazing because this man did all that before all other men, that's for sure. Speaking about the power of women and how women are so important.
That's and what about Oscar Murillo? You said that he had a very generous attitude towards the community.
Yeah, so his studio in a place where they give food to the community.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but you know, this guy is so special. It took him until the end of our discussion to tell me that.
Oh yes, and yeah, it should be central because
he's complex and he doesn't show off. So at least he said, no, but I said, what do you do concretely? He said, but we give food. And that was cool. He sent me a photo of people giving food.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. I like it. I like him even better now. I used to be a big fan, but now I like to be.
But have you seen what he has done during the Turner Prize? Huh? They have shared the prize.
Yes, they have shared. Yes, yeah.
Very cool, huh?
Yes.
In fact, it's a way. It was in December. It was a way to announce what's going on now.
Yeah, that's true.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And do you believe that the collectors, the art market, the galleries, even the government is helping enough in this situation, or what are your feedbacks? Are they really, I don't, maybe in France, or what have you heard from?
You know, I don't have really feedback. The thing is that the situation, it's such a nightmare for everyone, even for journalists. Huh? It's a nightmare because less job, less money everywhere.
Yeah.
So we have to face that. So the artist will not be privileged. The art gallery will not be privileged. I mean, a lot of people will be fired. It will be very difficult for a lot of people in every field, and why not in the art market?
Yes, and do you so you share the articles that were written that were like 1/3 of the galleries would close in Paris, for example?
But I'm not able to give any figure.
Yeah.
How could I?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. But you know, if we think about it, in at the end of the 90s of last century, a lot of galleries closed. Huh?
Yeah, we forgot that. Mm-hmm. We seem to forget what happened before, actually, with these.
And in the 70s, during the crisis of the oil crisis, a lot of, in 74, after 74, a lot of galleries closed again. Mm-hmm. So it often happened. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised in the last years that some artists were so money oriented in a way, could resist for so many years.
Yes. So that yeah.
That's a miracle. They were good businessmen. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to gallery view. And if anyone has any question, you could to ask to Judith, you can either unmute yourself or ask me. I mean, it's very easy. No. Alexandra from Buenos Aires, maybe.
Ah, that's so chic.
Yeah, I have a question. Some names.
September. I was supposed to make my. Anyway, sorry. Can you go deeper on this on the artist and money wise? I mean, good businessman. I think that's interesting. And second, I see that my friend Denise Villegrain from Palais Tokyo is there, and I would like, and maybe it's nice as well that after you, she shared the specific situation of Palais Tokyo. So first, can you go a little?
I was thinking about Damien Hirst. How could he resist for so long? That's crazy. So I think the only answer is that he's a perfect businessman. There's so many years that he did not invent anything, just what he did for François Pinault, which was for like one piece of art, and it was interesting, it was crazy, it was grand. But for the rest, the guy did not invent anything in so many years. That's crazy.
But it's just one. Can you, where you were saying some artists, it's just one, okay? It's
yes. What else could I say? After, no, this one is obvious. But for example, people often compare Damien Hirst and Jeff Koons. I think Jeff Koons is an excellent artist. Damien Hirst was once an excellent artist and not anymore for years. Mm-hmm. That's an example.
Yeah. Anyway, he took the opportunity of doing a sort of a rainbow contest, Damien Hirst, for the, to help for the coronavirus campaign. Denise, now that you are
unmute. Well, thank you, Alexandra, for asking the question. I wanted to ask the names. hello, Judith and everyone. I'm just speaking at the beginning for what you said about Art Basel, because besides Palais de Tokyo, I'm VIP representative for Art Basel in France. And this online viewing was not so lively and not so commercial in quotes, but because I think it was also a problem of being able to respond to an emergency, because until the end of January they were considering that they could do the fair, and things went very fast. And fortunately, they had this technical project to do an online viewing room for the galleries exhibiting in Hong Kong, in order to show what they had, not in the booth, but what they could sell. So the shape of the online viewing was already made, but they didn't have time to go further. So I think that's going to change a lot during those months, and that could be something really strong. But of course, it will never replace the real work. And what the conclusion of, just to add something about what you said about the online viewing rooms, the sales were not concluding, and we don't know if big galleries who sold some pieces, they did a real work on offering things, and it was, of course, not big amounts. And I think for the younger ones, it was more complicated. And after that, concerning the Palais de Tokyo, the situation is really, really complicated, because there is no more income at all for all the exhibitions to be made, because they need to provide, the museum needs to provide all the 100% of the exhibition amount. So what they have from the state is only for the salaries. And so they have a real issue, because it's closed. There is no fashion weeks in July. There is no payments of the restaurants, which is a real, and the bookshop, which is also an income. And they decided to postpone the exhibition that was supposed to be done in June, and for next year, nobody in February. And now I hope they could reopen the one that opened in February before it ends in September. And even in September, they don't know if they can have rentals for the fashion week also, because it's not confirmed yet. So that makes a lot of missing money. And in order to finance the exhibition in October, which is an IMOF, starting in October. So complicated, because they don't have anything to show. They don't have collections. They cannot find any. So it's a way also of reconsidering everything. And of course, to find sponsors is more difficult now, because you cannot speak to any brand and that was supposed to finance the exhibition on an IMOF. It was a luxury brand, and I don't think that will happen.
Yeah, that's true. I have a question from Virginie. Do you think Art Basel will take place as announced in September? Are collectors really ready to go back to physical art fair?
Not sure.
No,
not sure. Are you ready, Judith?
No, I think it's funny, because we had a Zoom with all the Art Basel team in the world. So we were like 30 like now. It's so funny to have that today in the same afternoon. And what's interesting is that the only one who was very positive was the Scandinavian one. And I think because they didn't leave the lockdown the same way, and the fear the same way. And also the other problem is that besides the number of people locked in the same room, which is a real problem now with air conditioning, so that's an issue. And they're waiting for the Swiss government from the canton from Basel to say whether they allow them to open or not, because if you open a fair with just very few people inside at the same time, it will not be worth it for anyone. And and visitors also, the problem is for Asians, because most of them were saying that all the Chinese will not have visas, for example, which will be complicated. They have to know much time in advance. So mid-September is not sure, but they're not decided yet. And they will not decide until Swiss say what they allow or not. So
Yeah.
nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. It's
I think they're going to ask the galleries also to give an advice, which they will send, and you maybe all receive also an email soon, giving some information, and because they might do again an online viewing in June also.
Yeah. So we have another question for Judith from Angelica. Could you tell us more about this gallery you mentioned at the beginning with their special approach and the fact that they were very avant-garde using online viewing?
I think it's Werner, but I couldn't really hear the name.
Yes, it's
David Werner. Yeah, yeah.
They have a curator dedicated to online viewing room. So it means it's like they would have another city with another gallery in another city, but instead it's online. And so they curate special project, and they have special strategy. For example, most of the time you have prices. Normally, if you go to Zwirner, you don't have any prices, but they notice that to sell, you need to show the price on internet. Online.
Yes,
like
yeah.
And the approach of the artist too is different.
They're showing the studio, so at the end they manage to maybe materialize a little bit more.
It's not only that. For example, there are things which are which are better online. For example, sculpture are very good online. So they try to show sculpture, which is something hard to sell in the market normally.
I can see that Catherine Petitga is here in the talk also. So I'm going to unmute you, Catherine. So Catherine, thank you for joining, and also you as a collector. Would you buy on an online viewing room, or is it? It's that's a.
Actually, I just appeared. Hello, everybody. I just appeared because I had a question, but I can see you turn the table on me. I would actually, and I really enjoyed the David Werner presentation, and actually got in touch with one of the galleries that had a young Mexican artist I didn't know. So I was really quite pleased with this. It was quite successful, and I must say, when I go to fairs, I often end up buying on an iPad anyway, so I don't mind buying online, but well, I'm in no rush to buy just now. But I had a question for Judith actually, because you mentioned the Corona prices, which I thought was quite an interesting concept, and it opens avenues to me, I suppose, as a collector. But I was wondering, are you seeing a Corona art? Do you think that this sort of bizarre time is going to inspire artists to do things just like you were saying? Subodh Gupta is doing a cookbook, and a lot of artists have turned to drawing. Or do you think we are going to see Corona art?
You speak about art, not price, right?
Yes, because I think at the end of the day, this is all about the artists, and I think I really think we need to help them at this stage. So I think that's why I was wondering if there is.
I think I hope we will all change after this crisis, and probably some of the artists are more eager, are more open to the situations than us, and it will have an influence on their work and on their message. But it's very early on, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been.
I think it's too early to say anything, but I can't imagine it will not change. If you think about the big crisis of the world in 20th century, for example. If you think about, what could we say? Nothing comparable to what's going on now, because when it was wars, it was different. But if you think about the First World War, for example, one can easily say that Marcel Duchamp-Fontaine comes from the First World War and the slaughters. So, I don't know, probably many things happen in the mind of the artist after the 9/11 events. If you think about Gerhard Richter wanting to reproduce what happened with the Twin Towers, he was not even able to paint them. He painted them 4 years later, and after he erased the image. So all that is in process, I think, and for sure it will change things in the mind of the artist. Like probably, I don't know what is your life now, but it changed a lot of things for all of us.
Yeah, that's true. As Kate Gordon is saying via chat to everyone, as an abstract expressionism, a response to World War II, perhaps also.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abstract art. Yeah.
I was just thinking about Dada and Surrealism a lot. This is a great point, but I guess also a question would be.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, you have to wait.
Speak louder, please.
Yeah, Kate, yes, we hear you.
I guess that's also the question. Will there be more of a drive towards art made by women as a result of this Corona art? What do you think?
Women and why not?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no opinion about that. What about, I don't know, Mexican in America?
Exactly. The table is open now, I guess.
Yeah.
Not so open because it will be extremely tough, and to be in a good gallery and to make money will be terribly difficult. Not so open. I think, yeah, it will be a big fight for everyone in the art.
I see that Audrey is in Israel. So Audrey, what's going on in Israel? Can you tell us? Are galleries reopening like in Germany, or not yet? I received an email from Dvir Gallery actually.
The thing is that I'm actually now in Eilat, which is in the south of Israel. It's a very, very tiny city and nothing happened. I'm like alone with my family here. So
yes, yeah.
I can tell you more about what happened in Israel, but hopefully
okay.
better soon.
Yeah, no, it would be interesting to see what's going on in Germany because they're going to reopen soon. So that's going to be the next step to. Well, thank you, Judith, so much for your time and very very live presentation about all the subjects all together. And we in these times that are so uncertain, but we know that we will yes survive in some way, and we hope for the market.
let's be optimistic.
But we definitely want to hear you more, and so you will be very happy to hear that we were 46 participants on this Zoom. So that's a big that's a big success, and that's the great discovery about the confinement is the Zoom. Thank you again.
Merci beaucoup. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Antia. Merci, Judith.
Bye bye.
À bientôt.
À bientôt.
Merci.
Bye.
Merci à